Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. I am Daryl Simon Green, the Associate Art Director of Earth Tribe from the CalArts Collective in Valencia. And we're very grateful to be here tonight. And thank you for all of you for your support always. And the gift of sharing what we find to be the greatest gift of all, celebrating the moments of life through puppetry. Now, our production of Fading Light as part of the Kill Cycle plays has not been easy. But we invite you now to come with us on a journey of light and dark. Fading Light is the story of two twin brothers, one with a path that brought them to great heights, and the other who wandered aimlessly at times, searching for answers and struggling. And each story has two sides to each story. And while there are two twin brothers in this story, there will be two sides to this story, not four stories. As technically there would be, but to avoid confusion, there will just be the two sides. It's cleaner that way. From the day they were born, is there music for this? Beautiful. From the day they were born, there was a mysterious something that set them apart. When they were small boys, the older of the two, Tom, would climb to the top of a tree and fix his eyes on the horizon. The slightly younger of the two, Kurt, was always playing in alleys and enjoyed sleeping in the basement. But let's begin our story with the first brother, Tom. Tom always knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to go to school. He was curious. He was always inventing things.
Did you see this?
Meeting people.
Nice to meet you.
He was president of the business club and of his class and the star volleyball player.
Thank you.
Oh, he was loved and revered. His brother Kurt, however, was a lost soul. Born of the same parents, yet so very different. Kurt liked to set things on fire. Anything. And he loved alcohol. He lived life not so much in the fast lane, but in the reckless lane. And he frequently changed lanes. Recklessly. Kurt loved his brother, but could not understand why they were so different. I mean, they looked exactly like each other. In their senior year of high school, something happened that hastened their drift away from each other. Tom was coming home from cheer squad practice, crossing through the woods. His brother Kurt was with a girl named Colleen, and she was really, really, really drunk. Kurt and Colleen were drinking hard alcohol in the woods, and Colleen had gone past her limit and had passed out. Kurt did not know what to do. About this time, Tom came upon his brother and the drunk, passed out, vulnerable Colleen.
going on?
Tom,
What happened?
what do you mean what happened? I don't know what happened. Why are you blaming me?
I'm not blaming you, but what happened to this girl?
I don't know. You're beeswax anyway.
Well, what are you going to do?
What am I gonna do? You mean what are we gonna do?
We?
That's right, you're my brother.
Oh, boy. Well, I wonder what's going to happen. We're going to take a brief break right now and reset some things. And we would like to talk to you a little bit. We're open to any questions that you might have about the collective and puppetry in general. I would like to introduce you to puppeteers. Kellen McVeigh is Tom. And Roger Hildegard is our Kurt. And Corbin Stoneman is kind of the mysterious, invisible, ambient sound technician that we take everywhere. So, do you have any? I'm just going to step away from the podium. I feel like this is almost a podium because it's so, monolithic. I don't like that. I would rather sort of be free-ish. Does anybody have, first of all, any questions about what you've seen, the collective in general? I can't really see in the dark, but if you could just shout out or go ahead. You don't need to raise your hand. That's very old school.
Do you do weddings?
We do. We've done many weddings. We did Raymond and Carol's wedding just 2 weeks ago. Beautiful. We did part 7 of the Kill Cycle plays.
Why did you pick that color shirt for Tom?
Well, first of all, he's wearing a shirt and a jacket and a vest, so it put a lot of thought into it. I felt that Tom would be represented by best by being somewhat formal yet somewhat casual. Really more on the sporty side. But that's mostly the way I came up with it.
Puppetry is metaphor for storytelling.
And I don't prefer to, I'm uncomfortable speaking. We generally prefer to speak through our tools, but our characters and such, but I guess we need to.
And I want to tell you something. You asked about the color shirt. That's all very important to the process. When we create a puppet, each of us, we live with that puppet for years. The puppet never makes an entrance onto a stage until we've lived with it for 5 years. Anything else?
Are there any
Yes?
other puppets?
I'm sorry?
Are there any other puppets?
Are there any other puppets? Yes, we have about 1,000.
We each own over 1,000, I would say.
We met in St. Paul, Minnesota.
We were part of a puppetry competition. We were actually competitors, but we grew so fond of each other's work that we respected each other greatly and found the truth.
Respect is master.
We met in Belgium once. We've been together for several years.
Still in the work. So. I think any puppeteer will tell you that it's all about the work.
It really is.
It's funny, it's one of the only situations in my life where there's been no competition about anything. It's almost always, holding someone up. I don't know if you've ever seen those parades where they lift a person up and they go up into the air. That's kind of what it's like living in the collective. Did you have a question?
It's made of a bag.
I feel like there's a lot of Bertolt Brecht undertones in your work. Can you
He's an
speak
influence,
to that?
yes. He's an influence. Alienation effect is very important. We want to remind the audience that you are watching a performance. We don't want you to be lost in the representational vision of the puppets, but art is not a hammer with which to shape it.
That answer your question?
Most of our stories go back further than Brecht. They go back to
Expressionism.
American Indians, Navajo, about
Yeah.
the ancient Greeks. We really,
This story here is a Navajo myth that we've adapted for modern times. And you know, we don't see, there's really no past. It's almost like the past is biting us on the tail now in the modern day.
I lived with an Aborigine tribe for 7 years and studied their practices as well. I don't know if that came across in any of my work. But we'll discuss it after the show if you.
It's truly indicative of a face mask.
Well, and the death mask as well.
You know, the backside they can't see.
It really works both ways. I find that the spirit of a puppet is really not unlike the spirit of a person. It just sometimes needs a little more help to coax it out. But don't we all need some help sometimes?
I think Kellen is right about that, and I think what we're going to try to do now is coax out the rest of the Kill Cycle play. Okay, can we return? Maybe just dim the lights while they prepare. Well, many years after the incident in the woods, Tom went on to be the president of his own company, flying around the world in Lear jets and meeting with important dignitaries from around the world. He established a non-profit company along with his other companies that turned profit, and he gave food to people who couldn't afford food and couldn't walk. He married his high school sweetheart, had 2 children, had everything that life could offer. But one day, when he was still very young and vibrant, he threw up at work. He developed a cough that wouldn't go away. His body slowly withered. He became a shell of the Tom everyone knew and loved. Tom, a man who had everything, maybe even more than everything really, now became the man who had nothing. When Tom passed away, hundreds of people came from all over the world to celebrate his life. One lonely figure stood on the outskirts of the crowd, listening to world leaders speak about the greatness of Tom. This figure was Kurt. And like George Harrison said, all things must pass. After saying all the beautiful words about Tom, the world leaders walked away. Tom's wife and children walked away. All those who professed love and admiration for Tom walked away, all except for the one lone figure, Kurt. Kurt kept watch at Tom's gravesite until the end of his days, and when he himself passed into the next world, someone was waiting there for him. And that someone was Tom. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Roger. For everyone at Earth Tribe, you know, both on stage and off, I don't know if you noticed there were about 8 semi-trailers out in the parking lot. Those are ours, and we will fill this with puppetry and then go on to the next place. So we just want to thank you for our chance to tell our story in the only way that we know how. Celebrating the moments of life through puppetry.